I was teaching my husband Mike how to use AirDrop to share photos when he accidentally opened the wrong app on his phone. Instead of photos, he tapped on what looked like a camera icon in his app folder. The Tinder app opened to reveal his profile. Mike, 34, marketing director, looking for fun and adventure. I stared at his phone screen in complete silence. His active dating profile was right there, showing 200+ matches, dozens of recent conversations, and a profile photo I'd taken of him just last month. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. I recognized some of the women in his matches. One was my coworker Jessica from the accounting department. Another was the barista from our local coffee shop, where we went every Sunday morning. My husband hadn't just been cheating on me with strangers. He'd been targeting women from our actual life. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mike's face went white. I could see the panic in his eyes as he realized 8 months of careful deception had just been exposed by a simple mistake. "It's not what it looks like," he said, reaching for his phone. But I held it away from him, scrolling through his matches. My hands were shaking as I saw message after message from women he'd been talking to. "Mike, there are 200 matches here. 200 women. Sarah, let me explain." "Explain what?" "Explain why my husband of 6 years has an active dating profile. Explain why you're telling other women you're single." I kept scrolling through his conversations, reading messages he'd sent to strangers while lying next to me in our bed. Each message felt like a knife in my chest. "Here's a conversation with someone named Ashley from last week. I wish I could wake up next to you every morning instead of going home to my roommate situation." I looked up at him in disbelief. "Roommate situation? Is that what our marriage is to you?" "Sarah, I had to tell them something." "You had to lie about being married so you could cheat on me?" If you're finding this story as shocking as I did when I lived it, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps me share these important stories, and trust me, what I discovered next about Mike's double life will completely change how you think about the person sleeping next to you. I kept reading his messages, my heart breaking with each new discovery. "Here's a message from last Tuesday. Can't wait to meet you tonight. I'll be the guy in the blue shirt at Murphy's bar." I read aloud, my voice getting stronger with anger. "Tuesday night you said you had to work late." Mike's face crumpled. "Sarah, that was what? That was you lying to me so you could meet another woman?" "It was just drinks. Nothing happened." "Nothing happened?" Let me keep reading. I scrolled to the next message. "Last night was incredible. You're amazing in bed. When can we do that again?" Mike couldn't even look at me. "So you lied about nothing happening too. What else have you been lying about?" I found message after message documenting his lies. Here's one from Friday. "Last night was amazing. When can I see you again? Friday night you were supposedly at your company's team building event." "Sarah, please, let's sit down and talk about this." "Talk about what? About how you've been cheating on me with 200 different women?" "I haven't been cheating with 200 women. Most of those are just matches. I've only actually met a few of them." The words came out of his mouth, and I realized he thought this defense would somehow make me feel better. "Only a few of them. How many is a few, Mike?" He couldn't look at me. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. "Answer me. How many women have you slept with while married to me?" "I don't know exactly." "You don't know? How do you not know how many people you've cheated on your wife with?" "Maybe 15, maybe 20. 20 women. 20 different women had been with my husband while I'd been faithful, loyal, completely devoted to our marriage." I sat down heavily on our couch, still holding his phone, still scrolling through evidence of his betrayal. 20 women in 8 months. That's more than 2 women per month. It wasn't planned like that. It just happened. It just happened. You accidentally downloaded a dating app, accidentally created a profile, accidentally swiped on 200 women, and accidentally had sex with 20 of them. I kept scrolling through his phone, uncovering more and more deception. Photos he'd sent to women, some taken in our house, in our bedroom, photos he'd received from them, screenshots of conversations he'd saved. "Mike, you have screenshots of conversations with these women saved in your photos. You've been documenting your affairs." I didn't mean to save those." Here's one from 3 months ago. You saved a conversation where a woman named Taylor is telling you she loves you. You told her you loved her too." "Sarah, that didn't mean anything." "You told another woman you loved her, and it didn't mean anything. What does that say about when you tell me you love me?" I kept reading through his messages, each one more devastating than the last. "This message is from 3 days ago. My wife's out of town this weekend. Want to come over?" My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. I wasn't out of town 3 days ago, Mike. I was at the hospital with my sister after her car accident. His face went completely pale. You brought someone to our house? To our bedroom? While I was taking care of my sister in the hospital? Sarah, I can explain that. Explain what? How you invited another woman to sleep in our bed while I was dealing with a family crisis? It was a mistake. All of this was a mistake. A mistake? Mike, this says you've been active on this app for 8 months. 8 months of mistakes? 8 months. While I'd been planning our future, saving money for the house we wanted to buy, talking about starting a family, he'd been living a completely different life. How long have you been lying to me about where you go, what you do, who you're with? Sarah, it's not like that. It's exactly like that. Every time you said you were working late, every time you said you were going out with the guys, every time you told me you were too tired to spend time with me, you were probably with another woman. I found more evidence in his phone, hotel receipts from bookings he'd made, restaurant reservations for 2 that I'd never been to, Uber rides to addresses I didn't recognize. You've been using our joint credit card to pay for dates with other women. I was careful about that. Careful? Mike, there's a charge here for $200 at Morton's Steakhouse last month, the same night you told me you were working late and would grab something quick at the office. I can pay that back. With what money? Our money? The money we've been saving together for our future? But here's where the story takes an even more devastating turn, and this is the part that will make you question everything you think you know about the person you're sharing your life with. As I kept scrolling through Mike's conversations, I found messages that revealed this wasn't just casual cheating. He'd been building actual relationships with these women, telling them he loved them, making plans for futures that didn't include me. Here's a message from someone named Melissa. I can't believe you're married. You seem so unhappy with her. When are you going to leave? I looked up at him with pure fury. You've been telling these women you're going to leave me? I never actually intended to leave you. Then why did you tell her that? Because it's what she wanted to hear. So you lied to her about leaving me, and you lied to me about being faithful. You've been lying to everyone. I found conversation after conversation where Mike had painted me as the cold, distant wife who didn't understand him. He'd told these women I was controlling, that our marriage was dead, that he was just waiting for the right time to file for divorce. Listen to this message you sent to someone named Emma. My wife doesn't understand me like you do. She's more like a roommate than a lover. I can't remember the last time she made me feel special. Sarah, I was just trying to what? Trying to make me sound terrible so these women would feel sorry for you? I was venting. People say things when they're frustrated. You weren't venting to a friend. You were manipulating women into sleeping with you by making me the villain in your story. I kept reading through months of conversations where Mike had systematically destroyed my character to justify his cheating. Here's another one. Sarah works all the time and never wants to do anything fun. She's become so boring and predictable. Being with you reminds me what passion feels like. That's not fair. You never told me you felt that way. Because I knew you'd just make excuses or try to blame me for your behavior. My behavior? Mike, you're the one who's been cheating for 8 months. I found more messages that made me physically sick. Look at this conversation with Jessica, my coworker Jessica. You told her I was emotionally unavailable and that you were basically single. She works 3 desks away from me. She's been looking at me every day knowing she's sleeping with my husband. I told her not to treat you any differently at work. You told my coworker not to treat me differently while she was sleeping with my husband. Mike, do you understand how humiliating this is? I kept scrolling, finding more evidence of his elaborate deception. Here's a message thread with someone named Rachel. You've been planning weekend trips with her. Look at this. I told Sarah I have a work conference in Chicago next month. We could spend the whole weekend together at that hotel you liked. That trip got cancelled because you got caught, not because you decided to be faithful. I found photos that made everything even worse. Pictures Mike had taken of me without my knowledge, sleeping, getting dressed, doing household chores. Mike, why do you have secret photos of me in your phone? I don't. Yes, you do. And look at this. You sent them to other women. You sent a photo of me sleeping to someone named Katie with the message, "This is what I have to come home to every night." Sarah, that's not what I meant. You used photos of your wife to complain about your marriage to women you were cheating with. How is that not what you meant? The betrayal kept getting deeper. I found evidence that Mike had been sharing intimate details about our sex life with these women, comparing me to them, rating our relationship against his affairs. Here's a message where you told someone named Amanda that I'm boring in bed, and that sex with her feels like a chore. I was just frustrated. About what? About having to have sex with your wife instead of your girlfriends? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? Because from what I'm reading, you've been treating our marriage like a prison and these women like your escape. I found more conversation threads that showed the extent of his planning and deception. Look at this message thread with Taylor. You've been planning to tell me you need to travel more for work so you can see her more often. That was just an idea. An idea to lie to me more systematically so you could cheat more efficiently. Look at this, I said, showing him another message thread. This woman, Jessica, sent you photos of lingerie she bought for our special night. When was your special night with Jessica? His face went even paler. Last Saturday. Last Saturday was our wedding anniversary dinner, Mike. I know, I'm sorry. I told you I had to go to my college roommate's bachelor party. You missed our wedding anniversary dinner to sleep with another woman. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. How was it supposed to happen? Were you planning to celebrate our anniversary with me and then go celebrate with her? The pieces kept falling into place. Every work conference, every guy's night out, every time he'd said he was too tired for intimacy with me, he'd been saving his energy for other women. I found evidence that he'd been lying about working late for months, screenshots of his work calendar that he'd sent to women, showing them when he'd be free because he was supposedly working but actually available for dates. You've been using fake work obligations to create time for affairs. I had to find time somehow. You had to find time to cheat on your wife somehow. Mike, do you hear yourself? This is like reading about a stranger, I said, continuing to scroll through months of deception. The Mike I married wouldn't do this. I'm still the same person. No, you're not. The Mike I married wouldn't lie to me every day for 8 months. The Mike I married wouldn't risk our marriage for casual sex with strangers. The Mike I married wouldn't miss our anniversary to be with someone else. Why? I asked. Why did you do this? I felt invisible, at work, at home, even with you. I felt like I was going through the motions of life without actually living. So you decided to start living by destroying our marriage. I decided to see what it would feel like to be wanted again. I wanted you. I've always wanted you. But apparently my love wasn't enough. Sarah, the women on these apps were excited about me because they didn't know me. They were excited about the version of myself I presented to them. The version where you're single and available? The version where I'm interesting and desirable. You don't think I find you interesting and desirable? When's the last time you looked at me the way these women do? When's the last time you were excited to see me? When's the last time you gave me a reason to be excited? When's the last time you planned a surprise for me instead of planning surprises for your girlfriends? Mike had no answer for that. They didn't know you were married. Most of them didn't. Most of them. Some of them knew. Mike looked sick. A few knew I was married. They didn't care. You found women who were willing to sleep with a married man. I found women who wanted the same thing I did. No strings attached. What about what I wanted? What about our marriage? I thought I could have both. Both what? A stable marriage and exciting affairs, the security of home and the thrill of new relationships. I stared at my husband like he was a complete stranger. Mike, you can't have both. You can't be a faithful husband and a cheating husband simultaneously. Other people do it. What other people? Guys at work talk about it, having variety, keeping things interesting. So you decided to follow the advice of cheating coworkers instead of honoring your marriage vows. I thought I could handle it. Handle what? Lying to me every day? Risking our health with unprotected sex with strangers? Destroying everything we built together? I was careful. You were careful? Mike, you brought another woman to our house. You used our credit cards. You cheated with my coworker. That's not careful, that's reckless. What happens now? He asked. I was still holding his phone, looking at photos of women he'd been with while married to me. Now you pack your things and you leave. Sarah, we can work through this. People get past affairs all the time. Affairs, Mike. Singular. People sometimes get past an affair. You've had 20 affairs. It wasn't 20 separate affairs. It was one period of bad decision-making. That's worse, not better. I'll delete the app. I'll cut contact with everyone. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. You had sex with another woman in our bed while I was taking care of my sister in the hospital, I said. There's no rebuilding trust after that. That was the worst thing I did. Everything else was just what? Just regular cheating? Just normal betrayal? I never stopped loving you. You have a funny way of showing love. Mike tried everything. He promised to change, to be better, to make it up to me. But there was no coming back from this level of systematic betrayal. The app, I said. How did you even think you wouldn't get caught? I was careful. I always deleted it when I came home. Except last night. I forgot. I was messaging someone and forgot to delete it. Who were you messaging? It doesn't matter now. It matters to me. Who were you planning to see next? Mike was quiet. There was going to be a next time, wasn't there? Even after 8 months of lying to me, you were planning to keep going. I don't know. Maybe? Mike, you're not even sure you would have stopped if you hadn't gotten caught. He moved out that night. I helped him pack, finding clothes I'd bought him mixed in with outfits I'd never seen, clothes he'd apparently bought for dates with other women. I filed for divorce a week later. The lawyer was shocked by the evidence I provided, screenshots of conversations, financial records of money spent on affairs, photos and messages that documented 8 months of systematic infidelity. The most devastating part wasn't just the cheating. It was realizing that for 8 months I'd been living with a stranger. The man I'd thought I was married to didn't exist. The real Mike was someone who could lie to my face every single day while systematically betraying our marriage. 6 months later, I learned something that made the whole situation even more surreal. Jessica, my coworker, who was one of his matches, told me she'd had no idea he was married when they first started talking. He'd been using a fake last name on the app and had told her he was recently divorced. But she'd figured out who he was after a few weeks and had continued the affair anyway. She'd been sitting 3 desks away from me, knowing she was sleeping with my husband, watching me talk about my marriage, my plans, my happiness. "I'm sorry," she told me months later. "I should have stopped when I realized he was lying about being single." "Why didn't you?" "Because he convinced me you two were basically roommates, that your marriage was over in everything but name." Mike hadn't just been cheating. He'd been recruiting accomplices by convincing them that I was the problem in our marriage. Today, a year later, I'm rebuilding my life. I've learned to trust again, slowly. I've learned that real love doesn't require deception, that healthy relationships are built on honesty, not elaborate lies. I've also learned to trust my instincts. Looking back, there were signs I dismissed or rationalized away. The way Mike guarded his phone, the way he started working out and buying new clothes, the way he became more critical of our relationship while showing less interest in fixing our problems. Mike's 200 matches represented 200 opportunities to destroy our marriage. He'd only needed to act on a fraction of them to lose everything that actually mattered. The dating app that seemed like harmless fun to him had been a weapon of mass destruction aimed directly at our marriage. Technology had made it easier than ever for him to cheat, but it had also made it easier for him to get caught. That accidental tap on the wrong app icon had revealed 8 months of systematic betrayal. Sometimes the truth comes out in the most unexpected ways. The man who'd promised to love me exclusively for the rest of his life had been treating our marriage like a side hobby while pursuing his real interests elsewhere. The 200 matches on Mike's phone proved that the only match that really mattered, the one he'd made with me 6 years earlier, had meant nothing to him at all.